All right, it's that time. It's seed starting time, and I am behind, and I've also added a whole bunch of new seeds that I haven't messed with yet. So we're going to get some of the wife's garden, whatever you want to call it, situated for her. I'm also going to be starting a whole bunch of flowers and a whole bunch of other just random things that are going to be outstanding. So first things first, when it comes to seed starting, you want to pick your seed starting trays. I got these from Dollar General. They're only $5. You don't have to spend a lot, or you could spend a lot. These I've reused for about 2 or 3 years, but if I would have got something that was a little more high quality, I might have got more time out of them, but do what works for you. Then when it comes to seed starting mix, the Fox Farm Happy Frogs, and I typically just run this through a sift, but I've been noticing every once in a while I get a couple little chunks. It's not been too bad, so I'm not that concerned with it. All right, we'll get these filled up real quick. Once we get everything started, filled, ready to rock, we're just going to lift these back out for a second, like so. Stack them right on top of themselves, like that. We're just going to put enough water in here. Have a little bit on the bottom. So I'm going to be trying a little bit of underneath watering with these ones this time, because first time this season started really seeing a lot of issues with dampening off in the plants we've already started. So we're going to try underneath watering, and we're going to also make some adjustments to the seed starting station. I don't know if it was the dirt or not, or if it's the just process we went through to germinate them, but something happened, dampening off. So best bet to get rid of dampening off is to water from underneath, let it sit for about 10 minutes. If it doesn't absorb all the water, dump it out. If it does absorb all the water, pour some more in there, and then wash, rinse, and repeat. But we will do a little bit of over-the-top watering once we put the rest on. But for right now, this is how we're going to do it until I can pinpoint exactly what's happening with the dampening off. And I will be putting a video up shortly on dampening off in general. We're going to start today off with Swiss chard. I'm actually a little behind on that, but that's okay. And we're going to go ahead and pop these in about 3/4 inch deep. Oh, these are big ones. I like it. So back to the handy dandy pencil, because I just seems to work best for me. We're just going to put one per hole. Give her the old college try. I'll probably do some direct sowing in these later on in the main garden. We're just going to plant 6 of them. And then once we get them planted, we're going to go ahead and do like I've been doing, which is the vermiculite. Just go over the top of them. Real light cover, nothing real crazy. I've seen really good germination with this so far. So we're just going to keep running with it until I can pinpoint if this is the issue, because the next set of everything that we've had with the dampening off, I'm going to not do that. All right, so now we have to start with my favorite pest control. Just love messing with them, so they seem to work really good for tomato hornworms, beetles. I really didn't notice a difference with aphids, but you know, that is the marigolds, and I actually got 3 varieties of marigolds this time. This is, of course, the Cracker Jack, which is the same ones we grew last year. Big, beautiful plant, loved it. Then I ended up getting the Golden Goliath, just because they're supposed to be like size palms or whatever you want to call them, a flower. And they're supposed to get super tall, so I'm kind of taller than my tomatoes. And I also got, just because I can, the Jester marigold. I just thought they looked really cool, so I got them. I'm not a big fan of this style of marigold versus this one, the French and African difference or whatever it is. But I like the colors of these, and I figured it's a marigold, so it'll probably be great for the garden. Another plus side to having a lot of marigolds and just flowers in general in the garden is, so some of them have pest control properties, while some of them draw beneficial insects. So like insects, I noticed that red and yellow really draws in a lot of ladybugs, and they are freaking amazing for getting rid of ants and aphids. And then the assassin beetles, they really hammer on the freaking squash beetles and the vine borer moths. And then praying mantises, for some reason, really like to hang out in the marigolds or anything that's red or yellow. So I typically stick with red and yellow, but you know, gotta have a little splash of color in there every once in a while to make you a little more happy while you're in there. So these are all going to be planted at about the same depth, and that's going to be about a surface. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the Jesters. And I keep buying Livingston, and if Livingston is watching this, I do not like opening their seed packets. Like this weird little divot for where you hang it to sell them, kind of a pain in the butt. All right, it's getting ripped. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. And then these things are super cool seeded. Like, I know it's not super impressive, but it's not too bad. And we're just going to essentially take these and just set them right on top of the soil. We're doing 1 seed per cell. And then we're just going to wash, rinse, and repeat. The Goliath and the Jester are new ones to me this year, but the Cracker Jack, of course, is my go-to. I grew a bunch of them at the front of the house, and I grew a bunch of them at the garden. And for pest control, you just can't go wrong. All right, next up, after we got all the marigolds done, of course, will be chamomile German. Still working on the chamomile. We grew chamomile last year, and it was pretty fantastic. This year, I'm wanting to get a little bit more into it, so we tried a different variety. It's, of course, from Livingston, so same thing. I just ripped the top off of it because I'm over it. These are going to want to be 1/8 of an inch deep. And the great thing about chamomile is, as we all know, it's great for teas, but it's got a bunch of other medicinal purposes, allegedly. So eventually I plan on covering that, but today we're just going to be starting seeds. Oh boy. Okay, so these ones are super tiny. Oh, I think I just dumped every one of them. Oh, I was close. Super close. Okay, so we're just going to do our best. You know what? Yeah, we're just going to do that. We're attempting 1 seed per cell, but I think I just got a lot more than that. It is what it is. I'm not really doing these in a particular order, but just doing as many as I can because I got to get everything going in like next week. Like this upcoming weekend, we have to do a bunch of direct sowings. We'll see what happens there. I said a splash of color earlier for the garden because it just makes you happy on the inside. That's where we've got the Bachelor button Blue Boy. So if these are supposed to be annuals, yeah, are supposed to be annuals. I actually have like 3 or 4 of them up front of the house that I got from the MLB gardener or millennial gardener, one or the other, not exactly sure. I'll pop it up there once I figure it out. And it actually lived throughout the winter, and I know it got down to like -10. I'm hoping it gets up and going. I'll make a short about it once I see it flowering and stuff, but it was pretty exciting looking at it the other day. These guys are going to be about 1/4 inch deep. Of course, I didn't make the tag for it, but we're going to check them out first. Oh yeah, these are bigger seeds. We got this. We're going to just do 1 per cell because these little suckers really spread out quite a bit. And I was really impressed with them last season in the wife's front flower bed. And it's just a little splash of blue. I mean, we got red, we got yellow, we got orange, everything else. Why not a splash of blue? The next one might be a little unheard of, but we like it. And I can tell you that from experience, this is actually one that if you have any type of like cough or sore throat, a lot of phlegm and stuff, it's definitely one to check out. And that is, of course, the great mullein. Huh, I had a little card in there and I didn't even know it. But these came from upennant.com. I think I actually ordered them off of Amazon and they just had their stuff posted on there. So these are like the super lung cleanse herb. Every time we start getting sick or getting a cough going or whatever, you can drink it as a tea or you can smoke it. So I will say that it is good for your lungs. I've used it multiple times to get over sickness and it's pretty awesome. I'd say give it a little try first or just go for the tea before you smoke it because smoking it's a little rough. But definitely good for teas and we'll start dealing with chest congestion pretty quickly. So the seeds are, of course, super dinky tiny. So we're just going to kind of give them the old sprinkle and hope I get maybe 1 or 2 per cell. Oh, that was way more, but that's all right. There we go. I think that's going to get her did. And we're just going to hit it with the vermiculite. So put them back in their little package. And so any garden grown by me is not going to be complete without, of course, the cayenne peppers. I don't know why I missed them. I thought we had some. And so when I did the pepper planting video, it just took a dump because I was like, we don't have cayenne pepper. I went and bought these ones. And these are actually kind of a new one to me. They're the Cayenne Long Slim. I've got the regular longs and I've got, I think it was Louisiana long. And those were all fantastic. So I'm hoping these are actually supposed to be longer and a little bit more thicker bodied, but we'll find out. And of course, so these seeds are actually quite massive, so it's not that hard to do 1 per cell. Damn, I didn't make a tag for them. So what kind of herb garden doesn't have basil? And it's the Italian Genovese bagels. We planted this last year, about the same time, and ended up Grown it in cups, and I've really propagated it a lot. We're just going to surface sow these, hopefully as close to 1 per cell as possible. And so we propagated it really well, and we actually had a lot of success with the seeds as well. But I planted it over in the volunteer garden. Well, yeah, that would have been the year before. So yeah, the year before I planted it over there, and we had our herb garden over there. Well, what ended up happening, I guess, was it went to seed, which I knew it did, but it actually came back on its own. And so we had squash and pumpkins over there. Well, I was harvesting that one day and realized there was a bunch of white flowers over there. I was like, what is that? And yeah, it was a bunch of the Italian Genovese basil, and it was awesome. All right, we got another return customer here, which is Fennel. And so last year I did not have a lot of luck with Fennel. I'm hoping this year we can turn the tides, but we'll see what happens. It's about a 1/4 inch deep planting. So we're just going to do 1 per cell, and then I'm just going to give them a light little push, nothing crazy. Then, of course, one of my favorites is cilantro. So we will be direct sowing cilantro as well, but the wife wants some for in the house. So we're going to go ahead and get that started for her today. And hopefully this weekend we'll be doing some direct seed sowing. Essentially do the same thing with the cilantro we did with everything else. We're just going to direct sow, or yeah, surface sow it. If I can get them back in their little bag. And then we're just going to lightly push them back down in there like so. Ooh, I did not make a tag. I'm planning on using the cilantro for some fresh pico de gallo. The stuff from the store and the little shaker, not quite as good. My favorite joke to make every year, because I love pickles, is it ain't no big deal. And that's exactly what we're going to be starting. And it's the same as pretty much every other herb, except for the seeds are massive. And actually you can use these as well, but we want the actual sprigs and not just the seed. I had a lot of it go to seed the year before, and it actually came up in the garden, the volunteer garden, again this year. I hope the volunteer garden does it, but I'm also wanting to get some of it going in the main garden, because apparently if you plant dill with your cucumbers, you won't have as much issues with cucumber beetles. So we're going to be trying that this year, because I'd rather, use other plants than have to use the pesticides and herbicides. All right, and of course up next for another splash of color, and of course I have to go with blue again, is the forget-me-nots. We also had these go up front, and yeah, they did fantastic. So we're gonna hopefully see the same results again. It would just tickle me pink. Well, I guess blue. Ooh, those got carried away. A bunch of you can go back in there. So these seeds aren't super tiny, so it should be fairly easy to get 1 per cell. I think this is another one I'm going to do a little bit of direct seeding when we get out to the main garden. Just kind of add splashes of color here and there, or if we have some blank spots, I thought that would be cool. And then this is another new one for us. It's called garden cress. This is the German. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It is the Upland. And so I actually got this because it's supposed to kind of taste like black pepper. Have not tried it yet. Hopefully it works out, and if anybody has any tips on how to properly grow cress, let me know in the comments, because I don't really know what I'm doing, but I hope it works out good. Now I am going to go with the basic recommendations on the depth, which is of course 1/8 of an inch, so we're pretty much going to be surface sowing. These ones look like little pieces of rock. They're tiny. All right, so the cress is going to do its own thing. We're just going to sprinkle them on the top. Kind of hope for the best, like so. Man, 18 seeds was a bit. So the next one, these are ones that I keep seeing everybody talking about. They're supposed to be a trap crop, so the bugs come in and eat these and then not your plants. And then I also like the colors of them, so we went ahead and got some extra ones, and that is the nasturtiums, and these are the Dwarf Alaska mixed colors, so they'll be red, yellow, and orange. Hopefully we get some extra growth out of these, because I got 6 seeds. These things are freaking massive. Like, I have not messed with these before. That's crazy to me. They kind of look like, if they were black, they would look more like the hummingbird flowers, which we have a crap ton of those, and I love them. We're just going to kind of push these down the best we can. I hope these are awesome, because I'm super excited about them. That's the first time I've ever had to pitch a whole seed pack first go on seed starting. We got to bang out 3 more here, and I'll be saving my favorite for last. It's definitely one I'm going to have to look into more. It's called chervil, and I didn't get it to grow last year, so not real sure about it. But hopefully this year we get enough that I need to start worrying about it. And the seeds are kind of crazy, but we're going to try to do one per cell. There we go. And if you know anything about chervil, let me know in the comments below, because I didn't get it to grow last year and I haven't really looked into it too much because I actually kind of forgot I had it. So I just thought I'd pick it up again this year and try again. I've got to do a lot of research into it though. All right, then the next, probably one of my favorites, definitely not my favorite, and that is, of course, chives. These are kind of tiny, and we're just going to surface sell them. Oh, that was dumped. That was a catastrophe. That's all right. They'll bunch up and do their own thing. And I love chives. If you like green onions and you haven't really tried chives, they're great. You can just grow them in a little cup, which is something we did. And you just clip a little bit. You want some fresh green onion flavor to it. You just clip it right off the top, throw it inside there, boom. And it's great on salads. Like, it's a mild onion flavor in salads. I like the big red onions in mine, but the chives do add a nice flavor to it. And then last but not least, got to be my favorite plant to grow, because last year I freaking rocked them. And that was the catnip. So I can tell you for a fact, if you plant these in coconut coir and you just let them hang out, they will go toast immediately. But if you put them in that Fox Farm Happy Frog, it will outgrow all the other ones. And then you turn around and plant it out in the garden, they'll get like 2 foot tall. They get real purple, pretty purple, pink, and whatever red colored flowers on them. Super pretty plant, and you can run them over with your lawnmower on accident and they just come right back. It's freaking awesome. And the great thing about this with the catnip is, so the medicinal side of it, you know, not saying for sure because I'm not a lady, but it's supposed to be very helpful with women issues and the cramping and whatnot. And then it's also, if you're a little backed up, it's a really good herbal tea to get things moving, if you know what I mean. All right, so we're going to cover the rest of these in vermiculite real quick. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just getting them covered. All right, once you got them covered with your vermiculite, you're going to go ahead and lightly water in each of them. Don't use a sprayer because it will poof everywhere, and it is intense, and it's a mess, and you got to get it all cleaned up, and it's terrible. All right, and once you start seeing the first 2 true leaves on these guys, you're going to want to start hitting all of them with a little bit of nitrogen fertilizer. And if you need a video for that, I got it over here. And if you want to see how it goes with all these guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on Wednesday. And we'll see